Good morning. My name is Amanda Hayes. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Justice Coordinator here at First Unitarian Universalist Church. Welcome this morning. We gather on the stolen land of the Adena, Hopewell, Wyandotte, Miami, Seneca, and Cayuga peoples. We acknowledge this history of injustice, peril, and pain, and lift up the continued presence of Indigenous people here today. Let us take a moment to consider how we might seek justice and repair with this land and its people. Our service this morning is shared by our First UU BREAD team. BREAD stands for Building Responsibility, Equality, and Dignity, and it is a congregation-based community organization of 44 different religious congregations in Central Ohio. These congregations are united through BREAD to research proven solutions and apply nonpartisan pressure on local decision makers to improve climate justice, public safety for all, and other serious community issues in Central Ohio. I'm proud to say that First UU is a founding member of BREAD, and that I have learned a lot from being a BREAD network member. I also want to extend a warm welcome to our BREAD organizer, Lauren Muscott, who's here with us this morning, and will be around after the service to chat. So say hi to Lauren. In this service, we'll be sharing a bit more about BREAD and also reflecting on finding our center in relation to justice work, our justice center, whether that be related to BREAD or in some other way. One of the ways that BREAD really excels is encouraging each of us to tell our stories, connect our personal stories to larger justice issues, and find a way to contribute to working for systemic change. So take some time to wonder with us this morning. Of all the many causes and ways to contribute, what might your story call you to in this season of your life? How might you connect with your Justice Center? And now, please rise as you are willing and able to sing our opening hymn, number 1040, Hush. We'll do stanzas 1 and 3, and it's found in our teal hymnal. The words will also be on the screen.
Good morning. I'm Jan Phillips, and I serve as one of the co-chairs of our Board of Trustees. My pronouns are she, her. We are so glad that you are here. Our congregation aspires to be welcoming to all, and we want you to know that you belong here. Please scan the QR code, it's right up here, the QR code to check in, to view the order of service, to submit any joys or sorrows, and to access our donations page. If this is your first time visiting with us, welcome. And we have a visitor gift for you at the greeter stand outside in the gallery. Nominations are now being accepted for First UU leadership. This is a great opportunity to get involved in the life of our congregation by serving on our Board of Trustees, the nominating committee, or as moderator. Terms for these offices range from 1 to 3 years. Please submit your name if you are interested, or let us know who else you think would be great. Send any names and questions to Marian Garcia, and she will forward your submissions to our nominating committee. First UU plans to send Valentine's Day care packages to some of our emerging young adults ages 18 to 25. Specifically, our folks who are college or grad school age now. Please visit our table in Beach Hall after the service to make a donation, to drop off items, or to write notes of support to be included in the packages. You can sponsor a young adult with a gift of $10. We hope to send packages to anywhere from 30 to 80 young people. Please see the blurb in Friday News or email Amber if you would like to opt in a young adult to receive one of these packages. Finally, First UU's Anti-Racist Allies workshop that was planned for today, called What Do I Say When, is being rescheduled. We would now like to invite any children who want to help bring in the light to meet Gus. Gus, raise your hand. Okay, back in the gallery, or back in at the end of the worship center, and they'll go out into the gallery. Everyone else, please center yourselves as we listen to this morning's prelude.
Good morning. I'm John McChrystal, and I'm a member of First UU's Bread team, and my pronouns are he and him. And it's very good to be here with you this morning. And it is now time for our children to bring in the light. Our chalice lighting words this morning come from Reverend Mark Morrison Reed, a UU minister, author, historian of the African American experience in Unitarian Universalism, and professor at the Meadville Lombard Theological School, where he uses scholarship, history, and personal experience to help prepare future leaders to help create an anti-racist Unitarian Universalism. The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. There is a connectedness, a relationship discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and lives of others. Once felt, it helps inspire us to justice. It is the church that assures us that we are not struggling for justice on our own, but as members of a larger community. The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our strength too limited to do all the work that must be done. But together, our vision widens, and our strength is renewed.
Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Violet, and thank you, Victoria. Sorry, the eyes aren't too good sometimes. For your help lighting the chalice. Good morning. I'm Alice Rathburn, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm a member of First UU's Bread team. Please remember to send your children to class with their coats, as many of the children enjoy exploring the playground during our Sunday service. To volunteer or learn more about our family program, please email our Director of Religious Education, Amber Scott. amber@firstucolumbus.org. Today's story is called Amata and the Bats by Emma Reynolds. Amata really loved bats. When Amata was very small, a bat got trapped in the attic of her house. Amata asked if she could hold the bat, but her mom and big brother, Samir, said they should wait for the wildlife rescue team. They would know how to handle and look after the bat safely. When the wildlife rescue team arrived, they caught the bat carefully and held it very gently in a towel. Amata got to see the bat's fluffy face, beady eyes, and delicate wings up close. Some people are afraid of bats, but Amata thought they were so cute. Part of her wanted to keep it as a pet, but Amata knew the bat would be happier out in the wild, where it could fly around and be free. Ever since then, Amata has loved bats. Her favorite thing to do is collect all the bat fats she can find and write them in her notebook. Mom, did you know that bats are nocturnal? That means they're awake at night. They hang upside down, and they're the only mammals that can fly. Amata and her family were moving to a new town. She was supposed to be packing up her room, but she kept getting distracted by more bat facts. Squeak! Amata squeaked all around the house. Squeak! Samir, did you know that bats have such a high-pitched squeak that we can't even hear them? They use echolocation to find their food in the dark. I can hear you, Samir laughed. Amata and her family often watched the bats flying near their old house. She knew that all kinds of bats lived all over the world, so no matter where they lived, she'd always be able to see them. After they moved, Amata couldn't wait to visit the park in her new neighborhood to see the bats flying around at sundown. But when Amata and her family got to the park, there were no bats to be found. They asked the park ranger about the bats, but she hadn't seen any in a while. "We used to have a few bats years ago," the ranger said sadly, "but now more and more of the land is being sold to make room for buildings." Amata felt a sad feeling in her tummy all the way home. She couldn't stop thinking about the bats and their habitat. What could she do to help? "Amata," her mom knocked at the door gently, "your new nature magazine arrived." "Thanks, Mom," said Amata, still feeling glum. Her mom gave her a hug and said, "It will feel like home soon." Amata opened her magazine and started to read. There was a story about young people organizing beach cleanups to clear plastic from the oceans, and another story about a boy teaching people to connect with nature and fighting to protect endangered birds. She found lots of stories and videos online about kids taking action to help animals and the planet. Amata realized if they could make a difference, so could she. And she had an idea. Amata showed her mom and Samia a picture of a bat house, a little wooden house built for bats to roost in. "Maybe if we can help the park build some bat houses, the bats will come back. We have to try to save the park." She decided to talk about her idea for show and tell the next day. She was still new at school, so she was a bit nervous to stand in front of her class. But Amata didn't have to worry, because her classmates really wanted to help. They started to tell her about their favorite animals that were endangered too. When Amata told Jasper and Lucy about the bat houses, they had some great ideas. "We could have a bake sale," said Jasper, "and paint signs." Lucy waved her paintbrush. "What if they could build a nature reserve in the park so that lots of wild animals would have a home in the city?" Amata felt inspiration bubbling up inside her. She loved a challenge. The entire class painted signs and baked cakes to raise money for the nature reserve. Amata's new friends all wanted to help the bats come home. Amata's mom made some important phone calls, and soon their whole neighborhood gathered together to hold up their painted signs. It was hard work, but eventually people listened. The park would get its nature reserve. Over the next few months, volunteers helped make a bird-friendly sanctuary, a wild place where nature could flourish in the park. They made a new pond and planted flowers that smelled nice at nighttime, so lots of insects could come by for the bats to eat. The park ranger put his bat houses in a special place with help from the wildlife rescue team. "I hope they come back," Amata said thoughtfully. "We might have to wait a while," the ranger replied. "It's okay. I can wait." Every month, Amata and her family checked to see if the bats had roosted. They waited and waited and waited, but the bats didn't come. Amata tried to stay brave. One day, Amata's mom got a phone call. They needed to go to the park right away. When they arrived, the ranger waved them over. Amada was nervous. Had something happened to the bat houses? Suddenly, her mom and brother whispered, "Amada, look." And there they were, flying above her. The bats had made a new home, and Amada felt at home too. It was the best feeling in the world. The end. In this story, Amada's love for bats inspired her to make a difference in her community. Today, while we center ourselves in our work for justice, I invite you to consider the ways that you can make a difference in our congregation, in our community, and our world. I now invite the congregation to form a sheltering arc of love as we sing our young people back to their families and out to class.
Sorry, it's rough being the usher and then having to come up here. My name is Marilyn Webster, and I'm a member of this church's bread team. I became involved with bread by first attending a Nehemiah action because it gave me a chance to act on my values of being involved in my community. Once I engaged with bread, I became more involved by joining bread research committees because they focus on issues in the community of importance to me and research for best practices that bread then holds officials accountable to implement. I first joined the Juvenile Justice Committee, then Elder Care, and finally Environmental Justice. Participation in research has allowed me to connect with bread members from other congregations and has increased my knowledge about the problems hurting our community. For example, if I had not joined the Elder Care Research Group, I would not have known that there was a social worker connected to the Columbus Fire Department. So when EMTs respond to senior citizens' homes and see problems, they relay these problems to the social worker to follow up with those senior citizens. That's why bread pushed for the Columbus Fire Department to hire additional social workers to address the level of cases the EMTs were seeing. Access to health care is part of my Justice Center and is one reason why I became a team leader at First UU. I would like to ask you, if you're willing, to do a little centering exercise with me now. So close your eyes and turn your attention to your inner self, your center. Once you've found it, I want you to breathe in and out deeply, slowly, at least 5 times. Continue to concentrate on your center and feel the sensation of being stabilized and on the ground as I recite a tiny prayer written by Reverend Micah Busey, an ordained United Church of Christ minister at Judson Memorial Church in Greenwich Village, New York. The tiny prayer is for those who are somewhat daunted by all the work we have yet to do. May you welcome this bit of overwhelm and hear it calling you to radical honesty. May you be invigorated by this authenticity, putting it to hopeful work instead of allowing it to work you into a passive paralysis. May you listen to the voices who have been telling the truth about this country for years. May you invite their stories to inspire the developing ways in which you will participate, ways in which you will nudge this society to do more, to listen more, to be more, and may you add your own conscious commitment to the building narrative of who we are becoming, assured that our collective imagination needs your needs your active encouragement in order to expand. Amen.
1,000 voices. All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So, my name is Noelle Williams, and my pronouns are she, her. I'm a member of First Unitarian Universalist Bread Team. As you may know, and you have heard, First UU was one of the founding congregations of the Bread organization. But what you may not know, which is something that's a major part of Bread that brings unity within the organization, are our cheers. And I love the 100, 1,000, 1 million voices. We need to take that. So when I say bread, you say rises. Everybody got it? So we're gonna practice. Ready? Bread? Rises. Gosh, you know, that was good, but I know we can do better. So I'm gonna need you to do a little better. Bread? Rises. Bread? Rises. That's what I'm talking about. As I said, a good cheer unifies. But when hundreds or thousands of us gather on our way to 1 million, they also clearly communicate our power and our purpose. Another bread cheer some of you may have heard is 52-1. Those numbers reflect the vision of every bread congregation to turn out as many people to the Nehemiah action as attend worship service 52 times a year. We in Bread are very intentional about everything we do. That is one of the major reasons why when I met Jolinda, a past religious education director of First UU, I asked to get involved with Bread by way of First UU. Being effective in justice work is important to me because lives are at stake, and many of them are brown people that look like me. From 1996 to 2013, I served as the president of the Columbus NAACP. During that time, I had people come to me with stories from a variety of injustice, but the one that most stood out to me that we're still fighting today is police abuse. One of these stories was from a woman named Erica. She had been beaten by the police and wanted to know what could be done. This abuse was unacceptable. So I got to work with several people in the community to do something about it. But after 3 months, nothing had changed or been accomplished. I was frustrated and angry, but by the lack of progress we were making. That's when Jolinda invited me to attend a Bread meeting. She asked me to serve as First UU's representative on the Bread's Juvenile Justice Campaign, and I leaped at the opportunity. I did not know exactly what to expect, but what I was immediately struck by is how organized the meetings were, how research and solution-driven the organization was. I continued going to these meetings and saw that each meeting, each decision, each action was moving us forward to winning concrete and effective solutions, solutions that addressed injustice like police abuse, lack of affordable housing, lack of meaningful mental health options, Black and brown kids being pushed through the school to prison pipeline, diverting them from that. That is why I continue to be involved in BREAD these past 12 to 15 years as an officer, being on the executive committee, being on research committees for affordable housing, for restorative practice, to reduce gun violence and police violence, and as a committed team member turning out to our Nehemiah action. When I'm asked why I'm involved in so many BREAD campaigns, I respond with a simple truth, a reality. Every problem BREAD takes on has a disproportionately impacted Black people the most. I ask you to join me one more time in BREAD's cheer. Here goes. BREAD! Rises! BREAD! Rises! BREAD! Rises! Thank you.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Chris Johnson, use he, him pronouns, a longtime member of First UU and the First UU BREAD team. I've also struggled with mental illness to varying degrees over the course of my life. Fortunately, I come from a family with the resources to help me get treatment and help me through the hard times. In BREAD's 2013 listing process, we heard stories about people all over Central Ohio struggling with mental illness, including in our own congregation. Several of you shared stories with me about yourselves and your loved ones that year, and I thank you for that vulnerability. BREAD chose mental health as our new problem at the annual assembly that November. The research committee we formed found that resources for people in crisis were overwhelmed, and that many of those who sought crisis care were just stabilized, but then ended up coming back multiple times. So the research committee focused on getting more community mental health care to keep people out of crisis care in the first place. We identified two evidence-based solutions to push: more assertive community treatment, or ACT teams, and the clubhouse model. We encountered some resistance from the director of the local mental health board, Adam H., particularly with regard to supporting a clubhouse. If you were at that Nehemiah action, you'll remember it was a tense moment. I won't go further into that right now, other than to say that we should remember that public officials are good at sounding reasonable in public, regardless of what has gone on behind the scenes, and that BREAD learned a lot from that night. That has helped us in future actions. In any event, we knew we needed more support and more allies to win our campaign. So BREAD organized a mental health summit and invited a variety of influential figures in the community in areas like criminal justice and social services to come and learn about our proposals. We distributed these key players around amongst a bunch of small tables and had a BREAD person at each table to gauge their reactions and see if they might be supportive. There were a number of powerful speakers that day about our various proposals, but the most powerful for me were a number of members of Magnolia Clubhouse up in Cleveland. They came down to share their stories about mental illness, how the clubhouse had met them where they were, helped them overcome social isolation and the structurelessness of time that can accompany mental illness, and assisted them on the road to recovery. Their stories resonated very strongly with my own experiences, and I must admit I didn't do a good job gauging the reaction of the people at the table that day because I was too busy weeping. We ended up winning that campaign. Adam H. added more ACT teams and funded the expansion and upgrade of Pathway Clubhouse, an existing but seriously under-resourced program, into a fully accredited and thriving clubhouse program that's able to serve more people. And it's also mentoring new clubhouses around the state these days. We First UU and the other congregations in Bread made that happen by showing up in large numbers at the Nehemiah Action, April 25th this year, and by being persistent. In my own little way, through my work in Bread, I helped make that happen. So I was very excited to be able to celebrate with Pathway at their grand reopening in 2016 and their accreditation party in 2018. If you're around Bread long enough, someone will talk to you about why you're involved in justice work and what's your self-interest in being involved in Bread. In our fall listening process, we ask you for stories of how community problems impact you personally or those around you, your friends, your neighbors, your loved ones, your family. We know that when we approach justice work from the perspective of solving an abstract problem or helping those people we heard about on the news somewhere, that can be a very thin motivation to staying in the struggle for the long haul. That's why we try to connect this work to our everyday lives. The mental health campaign was so powerful to me personally because I've struggled with mental illness. I knew what social isolation was like long before the pandemic. In the stories of people struggling to find care, what I heard was very familiar. However, I've been privileged to have a family that's willing and able to help me at those low points. I've never become homeless or faced other similar catastrophes due to my problems, but without the support I've had, it's not hard to imagine such outcomes. There but for fortune go I. Being able to make a difference for people who don't necessarily have the same support network meant a lot to me. Bread also encourages us to reflect on the values that motivate us. I've come to realize that a core value of mine is that I want a more forgiving world. Life's hard. We all have our ups and downs. We all face illness, mental health challenges, financial setbacks, and more. All of us make bad decisions from time to time. But for some of us, we're in a better position to face those problems. We hit a bump in the road or make a mistake, and we have enough to fall back on that we're able to recover. For others, the very same things can completely derail their lives. I want a world in which all of us, no matter our zip code, our race, our family background, whatever, can face our challenges and come back. I see this at play in so many things that Bread fights for. Community mental health care, stopping the school-to-prison pipeline, jobs for people with criminal records, even affordable housing. If you don't have a home base to start from, you can't deal with your problems. So that's part of why I'm in this world, to build a Columbus that's a little bit gentler, a little bit more forgiving. Thank you. Bread? Rising. Our January Share the Plate recipient, strangely enough, is Pathway Clubhouse. Pathway Clubhouse provides a friendly communal space for adults living with mental illness in Franklin County to participate in the development of social relationships, employment and education opportunities, and community involvement. Using the Clubhouse model, this psychosocial rehabilitation program hopes to empower its members through participation in new experiences while engaging with fellow members around the Clubhouse. Thanks to the members and staff at the Clubhouse for weaving together a supportive community. You can text the number on the screen, scan the QR code, or visit firstucolumbus.org to donate. The offering will now be gratefully received. Thank you so much for your generosity.
Hold on, folks, it's coming. Good morning. My name is Reverend Kathleen Fowler, and I am privileged to serve as your pastoral care minister. And I use the pronouns she and her. For your consideration this morning, I give you the delicious poem by Naomi Shihab Nye entitled Shoulders. A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south, because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him, no car drive too near to his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he's not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say, "Fragile, handle with care." His ear fills up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. We're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. This morning, I lift up International Holocaust Remembrance Day on January 27th commemorated the 78th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp, and it honors the millions of people murdered and persecuted by the Nazis from the 1930s and into World War II. The victims included over 5 million Jews, as well as political opponents, Roma, other religious groups, and homosexuals. With much sadness, I lift up the horrific fatal beating of Tyree Nichols at the hands of 5 Memphis police officers on January 7th, with videos showing no obvious resistance by Nichols. These police officers were fired and charged with second-degree murder and other counts. We send our sympathies out to Roe Von Wells, Nichols' mother, and other family members. I also lift up, lest we forget the countless acts of heroism happening in our world amidst the backdrop of atrocities. One is being acknowledged in the news. 2 British citizens, Andrew Bagshaw and Chris Perry, were attempting to rescue an elderly woman from Soledar, Ukraine, an area of intense military action, when their car was hit by artillery shell. These men were part of an ad hoc cohort of foreigners with little or no combat experience who helped evacuate civilians from the front lines in Ukraine. Bagshaw and Perry also took water, medicine, and food to areas that were in position of danger, stress, or were being isolated in Ukraine. And they also fed pets that were left behind and abandoned. May peace be with us and with all beings who share this earth. I ask for a few moments of silence. I now invite our pastoral listeners, Betsy Smalley and Barb Fiorini, to come forward to read our joys and sorrows that have been submitted this week.
This past week, we received 2 caring cards. We send caring and healing thoughts to Larry D., who is home recovering from knee replacement surgery and is doing well. We send sincere condolences to former members Joe H. and Jim H. Joe's 92-year-old mother passed away peacefully at her home on January 3rd. A memorial service is planned for March 23rd in Attica, Ohio. Please visit the caring table in Beach Hall after the service each week to say hello to our volunteers, sign caring cards that will be sent to people within our community.
We have no more announcements that have come in today during the service. Thanks.
May we hold these joys and sorrows and all of those yet unspoken gently in our hearts. As I ring the temple bell, I invite you into a moment of shared silence to reflect, imagine, pray, or to simply breathe. And now I invite you to rise as willing and able and to sing hymn number 1024, When the Spirit Says Do. It's found in our teal hymnal, and the words are also on the screen.
To those who have hunger, give bread. And to those who have bread, give the hunger for justice. This Latin American prayer is a common mantra in Bread. The suffering and injustice we see around us and hear about on the news can be overwhelming at times. I hope that this service leaves you feeling a bit more inspired and hopeful about what is possible when we work together. If this service has also left you curious about Bread, a great way to learn more is to come to our First UU Bread Network Organizing meeting on March 4th at 1 p.m. You can attend in person or online. And it's never too early to mark your calendar for Bread's yearly Nehemiah action on April 25th at 6:45 p.m. to join thousands of other people from many faiths showing up for justice.
I'm Ken Odiorn. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a member of our Bread team. Please join me now in speaking our vision statement as we extinguish our flame together. If you are here in person, you may choose to hold hands or otherwise connect with people next to you. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of vision. As we go forth, let us heal and transform ourselves and our world through reason and love.